Eh? Yes. Well, I was, but not now. Do not fall for the scratch belly because do not fall for the scratchy belly because you will. I'm going to scratch my belly. She gets on the bed at night now and curls up. If I make a fuss of her, she'll roll over. She rolls over, her hands are back under the duvet. Not going there. No, not often. She is definitely a little. I didn't know where tonight was going. I don't have to worry. I'll just leave you all to it, I think. Oh, for God's sake. No. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hello. welcome again to Spiritual Cafe Night. These nights are about exactly what you're doing at the moment. Coming together, talking, building that community feel, but also with the topic of spirituality. Now, spirituality is one of those words we use a lot, we hear a lot, and as we touched on the last time, it's sort of like, well, what does it actually mean? So tonight, you will notice you've got pens and papers. No, you can't have any more paper because you've drawn all over it, too bad. Pens and papers. So what I thought would be a good idea, where you are all sat in your little groups, just have a few minutes discussing what to you is spirituality. What to you? So talk in your groups. You've got the paper there to write down, and then at the end of the time I'll invite each table just to say, remember, oh God, this is not a test. There is no right, there is no wrong answer. The only answer is the one that you feel, that you express, and you as a group. Are we all happy with that? A couple of people. Eh? Well, you can take a bye. You can just go, yeah, when it comes to the vote, just go, yes, I agree. All right. So carry on. Don't forget, you've got tea, coffee and cakes at the back. What is it to you? What is it to you? Make, you know. So, I wish. One step at a time.
Yeah, but that's wrong. In the way we act with others in day-to-day life. You've got to put words on the paper.
They've got 5 lines, they're drawing.
You didn't see Poole, she's always filled up one side.
Ah, right, okay, yeah. I'll believe you, millions wouldn't.
We've got 2 lots of people writing it down now.
Oh, well,
Here we go.
I'm not sure about that. I might have to split the teams up over there.
Anything to do with this talking about. I thought you were just messing about.
The 2 are probably linked. That's the same. They are. That's the same. Is it? Something to do with spirit. or spirituality, you could believe in spirituality.
That's right. That's right.
Spirituality, you believe in God. But you wouldn't necessarily, you may not think of it spirituality.
What did you say? You said that absolutely healing.
Yeah, that could cover all things. Covers all things.
Yes, but spirituality covers a multitude of things. And, you know, the spirituality.
I'm glad you said things, not sins over there. I said, I'm glad you said things, not sins. Pens down.
I got 6 letters worth.
Oh, did you? Oh, right. I got 375 out of the numbers 3, 7 and 5. Who would like to go first and share what they have got? Lynn has just been volunteered by the others on her table.
My friend's writing. I have put,
Yours is better.
we have put, spirituality is a way of life that we try to live towards by showing love and kindness and being a good listener, trying to be compassionate and supportive and positive, and trying to connect with our higher selves and be a better person basically, and learning to grow through life's lessons and challenges.
Ooh, very good. Anybody
Actually,
got?
I've got something else.
Have you?
To look at someone and see the 80% of them and accept the 10% you might not like, because you must always think of the reason why.
Ooh, oh, some deep thinkers over there. You got a bottle of wine hidden under that table somewhere?
Oh, teach on coffee cake, Lawrence.
Anybody else? No, all gone shy.
Not me, not me, no, not me. He's round there.
No, that's good.
Well, when I was a brown owl many years ago, you had to think of others before yourself. They were very hot on that in those days in the 1960s.
Yep, so
Yeah, and it's interesting that still comes through, that little nugget with the brownies and that, it still comes through. It's interesting, really.
yeah. So thinking of others.
Yeah.
So accepting being part of a whole, being part of something greater, but not denying our own speciality. You know, not getting lost in the whole, because we can do that. We can get lost in things that become so big that we think we're insignificant. But that's couldn't be further from the truth, could it? You know, each and every one of us is unique and individual, and each and every one of us makes up that greater whole.
Yeah.
My allegory that I often use about a clock or a watch. You know, you've got screws in there, long and short. You've got big springs, little springs, big cogs, little cogs. Take one out, and it doesn't work. So it's being part and acknowledging that we are important, but we are also part of that greater whole. So we're no lesser or no greater than those sat next to us or those on the other side of the earth from us or wherever. Yeah? Yeah. Anybody else want to share?
Knowing your loved ones are still with you, with the evidence given, that's always a big
Yeah.
magnet, if you like.
Yeah.
To
Well, that
find
is
your loved ones.
focusing on spiritualism in a way, isn't it? Because you're relying on that third party to give you that evidence. Where through spirituality and your awareness, you're going to start getting your own connection. You know, we're not all going to be platform mediums who work up here, but through spirituality, expanding our understanding, our philosophies, whether we're more aligned with the nature world or metaphysics or other worlds, you know, that's spirituality. What you're talking about there is spiritualism, where through the evidential mediumship you get that.
Yeah. But spirituality and spiritualism are linked, but spirituality is like a belief in a God, right? In a God. But yeah. But spirituality is a belief in a God, where spiritualism isn't as such.
Probably the other way round.
I haven't got my glasses.
Would we say that with spiritualism to one side, spirituality, does that mean an automatic recognition of a God or a driving force or an all-encompassing energy?
I think it depends on your own personal view as to how you want to, how you perceive your God or your spiritual. I think everybody's different, and they probably see God in brackets in their own way.
Yeah.
Whether they see that as a spirit, divine force, or whether it's got as you kind of imagined as a child. And I think the more you learn, the more you understand. I think so there's that perception as well as how you see the spirit world and God in brackets, if you like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's very well put. And it's because spirituality is your own path.
Yeah.
It's your own way of finding out what that spirituality then starts to embrace along the pathway.
And everyone will take themselves into a prayer or their own space to find or to talk, to reach out to the spirit world or God in their own way, again, because we're all different.
Yeah. I can very easily just go for a walk in the park and find God in the park.
Yeah.
You know, just being there, being immersed in that nature, being immersed in, especially this time of year, I love it this time of year, where the trees are just starting to bud, so the outlines are just starting to go a little bit hazy, and I just think that's great, because you can feel that light, and then you acknowledge that, yeah, all this comes together.
Yeah.
It all started somewhere, and as it's grown out, it's never left anybody behind. You know, it's not a divisive thing. We see some of the orthodox religions can be very divisive. You know, if you don't believe this, then you're not going to be one of the certain ones that are going to be saved and things like that. And that's not to me, that's not something that any religion or belief system should have in it. You know, because it is all about everybody. It is all, you know, and recognising that everything going on in this world, and especially at this time where we've got so many damn challenges with everything, every facet of our life, but we are all linked. There is reason behind it, there is purpose behind it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, carry on.
It can be very godlike, like what you say when you're out in nature. It's all part of the everything, isn't it? It's just the wonders of life, same as us, the wonders of us, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. each and every one of us is amazing. Each and every one of us started off at some stage or another exactly the same way, grew, developed, learned, expanded, travelled, opened our mind up. It's amazing. You know, and people have got amazing stories, and that's sometimes something we don't hear too much of, which is always a shame. You know, each and every one of you have got an amazing story to tell. You really have, you know, and we tend to think, me, no, I've done nothing, or I haven't done anything, whatever. It's nonsense. You know, one of the saddest things that I do is taking funerals for people. And one of the saddest things about it is when you're getting the evidence in for the eulogy, you suddenly find this person has led the most astounding life. You know, they've done things that are just, wow, we lose that awesomeness about each other, and we lose it about ourselves. You know, because we all, well, what can I do? How many times do we say that? What can I do? You can do anything, because you're awesome. And you have this mind and this connection and this understanding and this expansion that we're going through with our consciousness. Don't ever, ever say, what can I do? You can do anything. It may not manifest in the way you want. I'm still waiting to be a millionaire. I've waited 62 years now and not yet. But through, all right, my roots are in spiritualism, obviously, but in the spirituality world, you can have amazing discussions, amazing meetings with people, amazing just everything coming together. How many have experienced that? Just everything suddenly falls in place. Yeah, and it's just like, wow, that is so awesome. And it's recognising those little ones, because we're working from that heart chakra. We're working and expanding out on that heart chakra, that putting out that energy of love, of compassion, of tolerance, which is so needed in this world. And law of attraction comes into play there. You know, I was walking through town today and somebody was just looking at me, and I knew it was one of those moments where they were seeing something other than just the physical me, because I was in quite a good space and chilled, and you could just see it, and I thought, isn't that amazing? You can just make that connection. It was unacknowledged. I would have loved to have the guts to have gone, what did you see? What did you see? What did you see? Because you weren't looking at me, you were looking at something else. It's incredible. Sue, you have something to share.
Spirituality, a way of being, a way of living life with compassion, empathy and love for all upon the planet and the earth too, to the best of our ability, and being aware of others having different opinions about spirituality and accepting each and everyone have their own way, whether through religion or not, through God, Mother, Father, God, Great Spirit or one consciousness, etc.
Lovely.
And there was a lovely one here as well, if you just want to read yours, especially the last two lines. Oh, I'll read it. A compassionate way of life, hope for those who are lost without a loved one, a path to follow to give people our direction. Cake and coffee on a Wednesday night.
So we've got a comment here from online. To me, being spiritual is the awareness that we are spirit and are at the moment having a human experience. Remembering we are spirit brings us to understand the human experiences we are having. Interesting. Interesting. It's good. It's how it manifests, isn't it? Do we follow like the pagan routes? Do we follow metaphysical routes? Do we follow? You know, we've got so many choices there, but I find personally, when we're looking at what avenues to explore, it's just explore them all, but with an open mind. And if it sits well with you, great. And if it doesn't sit well with you, great. It's very easy because we are all different. You can't have gluten. I love gluten.
So do I, Lawrence. I can't have it.
Yeah.
Really.
So, you know, just that one
Yeah.
little thing, you know, just starts to show all these differences. But I think probably, would you all agree then with spirituality, it is just accepting that we're all one. This whole world is one. All these terrible things we see on television being carried out is being carried out against us energetically. Because the fact that they're 1,000 miles away doesn't mean a job. You know, we keep looking, we keep striving to bring change into the world. All right, we're not all going to be great leaders, we're not all going to run out tomorrow and rally the nation into one direction. I'll say we're not, who knows? Who knows? Sue?
I feel that the world today is a reflection of all our inner selves and all our inner conflicts, and that's why it's so important to work on ourselves and understand ourselves and start to that's how we begin to change the world, by changing ourselves, because the more we can find inner peace or shed that no longer serves us, so that we become more peaceful within, the world around us will eventually be more peaceful. It's simply a reflection of who we are right now, and we're all a reflection of each other, different facets.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. We've all gone through similar journeys. I mean, I've had things in my nature that sometimes pop up every now and then, but at least I recognise them now, as I'm sure we all did. You know, I'm sure we all have intolerances. There are still people in some areas that I find difficult to really understand, but I don't disbar it from my thinking. You know, if there's something comes up and it's because of an issue with somebody, I'm just not going to say, well, that's wrong because that's the way they are, because when you start bringing in this partisan energy of they, that word they really annoys me. They, who are they? They are people, you know, and there are people that their way of life or whatever is not for me, but it doesn't mean that I can go around and start protesting to shut down their expression of this life that we're given.
Well, it's a bit like that, just that 10% of that person. You may
Exactly.
not agree or you may not like, but there could be a reason behind that 10%.
Yeah.
So you can't always make a judgment because you don't know. But if that person is 80% good, you might not like the 10%, but you don't know what's behind it.
Yeah. We're just coming into Ramadan now. And one of the things that's hardly ever made public or pushed out in the public, part of the 40 days and nights fasting is also every day they do a good deed. Now, isn't that amazing? You think of the millions and millions of people who are entering into that sacred time of 40 days and nights, with the caveat that each day a good deed will be done. You know, if we could harness that across the world every day, just to give, just for the sake of giving. It's not giving, you know, so you're seeing giving, it's just done. Here, you need this, I've got one, you have it. You want a hand, I'll give you a hand. You know, it's amazing. Like Sue said, it's a reflection. We all reflect each other and we all see things. Sometimes we see something in somebody that we find quite distasteful because actually it's a bit of a reflection of us. You actually take that away. Oh, I can't deal with them because they do so and so. Well, if you actually sit in the quiet, sit in the stillness, and think, why does that trigger me? Because actually, there is a part of that in me. There is actually, I can be like that, and that's why I react like that. I don't want it. I don't want to deal with it. And we're not going to deal with all our little foibles, but awareness is a really big word. That's one of the things that really changed my life. Okay, I've done things, I've said things, and I still continue to at times, but I walk away and go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I'm not doing it in ignorance anymore. Mind you, ignorance was blissful because you weren't aware you were doing it. However, when you do get that awareness in, then, you know, you walk away and it is like a physical effect on you. It's like you just punched yourself because you thought, no, I wasn't kind there. Maybe I tripped up because of the mental maybe I tripped up there because there was something there that reflected of me and I didn't like it, and that's why I lashed out.
But you're human.
Exactly. We
You're
are human. We are human. We are here having the human experience. Fun, isn't it?
It is, definitely, and also I feel that when we're triggered, it also shows aspects of ourselves that need to be healed too. And like you've just been saying, Laurie, it also shows us where we can make a choice how we behave. We can either come from a more compassionate way of being, or we can act entirely through ego and be full of all our stuff that we've had programmed. So that's the awareness, isn't it, where we start to make choices moment by moment. We're very conscious of it, but gradually there are things that we may do where we're not so conscious of it because the energy around us and within us is changing. But it just goes on and on, doesn't it? You can never say, well, I've done that now.
Yeah,
unfortunately. It's like doing the washing up, isn't it? Oh damn, I've just finished washing up.
Yeah,
And
we
there's
can't
another
tick
plate.
that box. Woo! That's it. I've evolved. Tick next. But you said an interesting thing there as well about programmed. You know, because each culture, each demograph, each country, we have those historical roots that we follow and we keep following, but we are seeing now in this time where people are questioning things, and this is causing a lot of this upset because people are questioning things, but we're not talking about it to try and resolve it. We're seeing it here in our own country, you know, all the division that's coming in. You know, you've got to hate the migrants, or you've got to love the migrants, or you've got to despise people who have different genders, or whatever, you know, and it's all division, division, division. But when we are looking at it from this spiritual aspect, it's just understanding each other and working towards a common resolution. I'm not just saying everybody lay down and let everybody do what they want, but we can certainly get back that thing that we seem to have lost about debating things. That you can actually have a difference of opinion, but do you know what, afterwards you can still go out and have a beer together. Not have a difference of opinion, and that's it, and your flank's out slamming the door and pulling all the barriers up, which is what we're being encouraged to do.
But that's part of the divide and rule and social control, isn't it? And unfortunately that's been going on for hundreds and thousands of years. Follow me, I know the way, whether it's been through religion or through politics, whatever it is, and so that's programmed into the generation after generation, and that's quite a lot to unpick and unravel, which is where working on ourselves we can start to question some of those things that we were taught that we just accepted and never really gave any thought about. Thought, well, that's the world it is. And if we're taught, well, you know, don't like those people down there because they go to a different church, or, you know, they worship the green man at the bottom of the garden, well, have your own opinion or not about that.
Yeah, it's true. I recall from school, I know how an oxbow lake is formed, but actually until now I've never actually had to use it because it was just drummed into us, you know. This is how an oxbow leg's formed. Has anybody ever actually used that as part of a job interview or anything? No. I would have much rather learned how to do my taxes, or how to present a CV, or whatever. You know, how to iron a shirt. My mum, bless her, 13 years old, all us boys, iron a shirt, cook a meal. And you know what, they were the lessons that when you walked out of home, it was sort of like, oh, that's great. All my working life, I have never had to rely on my knowledge of an oxbow lake or a Sirius cloud. Seriously. So why are we still doing it?
That's the next cafe, isn't it? The Sirius Cloud. What do you see in the clouds?
So, anybody else want to share what they had? Table in the middle, you've got a very organised list.
It's not as good as everybody else's.
No, listen, there is no winner, there is no right answer, it's only right for ourselves.
Well, we put a knowing in spirit actually.
That's all right.
You just know, don't you? It's a knowing of, a knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but you know, don't you?
Right, explain it.
Yeah. It's
I think there is knowing.
there is a knowing, isn't
There is
there?
a knowing, yeah.
You know, you speak out loud. You speak to yourself, but you're not really speaking to yourself because you're speaking to somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
accountable.
You're speaking to, you know, very often I speak to myself, but I'm not speaking to myself because I'm speaking to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I get
So
that.
you're speaking, and it's a knowing.
Yeah.
So I'm not really speaking to people. Although somebody might, who doesn't believe in this sort of stuff, will think, oh my God, goodness, she's mad. She's speaking to herself, but no, I'm not. I'm not speaking to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking to somebody.
Yeah.
So it's a knowing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I get fully what you mean. I think the grand plan for reverting back to spiritualism is one day just not to have any religion whatsoever. Not anything. But our awareness. Because I say to people, you know, your own awareness, when you get your awareness heightened and work with it, like you're doing there, when you're talking and just knowing somebody is there, that's brilliant because that's continual self-development. You may not think that, but it is, because you just know they're there. You're trusting, trusting is...
And you can feel it as well, so you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And I'm sure that the ultimate plan, partly, is that we all will be our own mediums. That we will all be able to sit there and just go, are you there? Are you close? And feel them. And go, yeah, and you just go, that's correct. That's all I need. You know, the evidential messages from the platform, wonderful. I'm not decrying them, but as I said, we're not going to turn everybody into an evidential medium up here getting their validation from others. This is a time when you don't need validation, because it's between you and the spirit. And whatever pathway you use to bring in those awareness, opening up your thoughts, opening up your ideas, whatever paths you want to follow, you know, you go on, you're continually developing. How many people hug trees? How many people feel something when they hug a tree? Yeah. You know, imagine that at school, being taught at school. Imagine teaching children that connection to nature and recognising life is life. Everything has life. Everything has energy. So therefore everything has
We
life.
actually do that with a little child at the moment. We hug trees. It's autistic.
Brilliant.
We hug the tree.
Brilliant.
Yeah. He didn't see it one day and walked into it though.
All right. Sorry, I'm laughing, but I shouldn't be, but I am. Not laughing at, laughing with.
We're supposed to hold the tree and have the tree touch the bark.
Yeah. And that's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. You know,
Isn't
and
it offensive when you see, like it was on the news the other day, when trees have just been decimated for no reason at all?
yeah.
Yeah, and actually I felt pain, and my husband was like, it's just one of those things that, no, I felt pain
Yeah.
for those people that had lost the trees, and the fact that you just take them down indiscriminately. It's like life being,
Well, it is life.
it's like being slaughtered for no
Yeah.
reason.
It is life. You know, and we know, we're of the generation now, we haven't got the excuse anymore of not knowing. I mean, we go back in the 50s and 60s when consumerism really expanded, people didn't understand the cost of the consumerism. Well, nowadays we do understand the cost of the the cost to the planet, the cost to people in other lands, the people, you know, children in other lands. We do understand that, and this is part of this energy that is going around now, that everybody is reporting back different ways it's affecting them, but people are being affected by this. Has changed. You know, we've got Facebook prompts coming up. 3 years ago the other day was the first time we went online from Poole, so you know, that was quite a milestone. But since then, our perceptions, our understandings of the world and its mechanics and people have changed. You know, and we should be looking at this world now. We do understand, not to get bogged down in the diversionary tactics of it's getting hotter or it's going to get colder or it doesn't exist. We are damaging the host. That is indisputable. Each and every one of us can do something to, you know, I sit there and watch some of these adverts coming on. What's the latest one that really irritates me? Lots of things irritate me on the show. That's why I don't watch a lot of it. It'd be bottles flying. Oh yeah, the speed mops. You know, and I just think all the manufacturing for that little bit of plastic, so you can just get it out and just, you know, no apologies to anybody who's got speed mops here, don't be afraid, but and where that go, you know, because we're being made more and more aware of the life cycle of these things. How many people saw those photos of like the garbage lagoons in the Mediterranean, the Atlantic? Acres and acres and acres and acres. You know, and it's just like everything we do has a cause and effect. And this is one of the spiritual laws. Everything has cause and effect. You know, if we give of ourselves, we give service, we receive back. If we act out of haste or out of enmity or whatever, we have the karmic laws. Laws of karma. As you give, so shall you receive. It's echoed through all the holy books. There's that commonality there. But we're actually being seen today in our world, in our physical world, the law of cause and effect. And it's uncomfortable. And again, we come back to ourselves and think, well, what can I do? Just change your thinking. Don't worry about anybody else. You know, look at things and think, do I really need that? Can I do that somewhere else? Can I do that another way? And all right, yeah, we're all going to have the moments where we think, oh, sod it, I'm going to do that. But that overall knowledge, that overall understanding that everything we do, having these lights on tonight, you know, that is, where is this electricity coming from? Is it coming from an oil-fired generator? Is it coming from a coal-fired generator? We don't know. But we know that everything we do is cause and effect. The way it's being handled and managed and pushed upon us leaves a lot to be desired. I think, I would like to think that basically, actually, humanity is pretty good. That we are forced into division and resentment and hatred, but I think actually, on the whole, humanity is pretty good. We understand things. We're not all as daft as we're made out. And we're not all, you know, and when we get pushed even further into corners, as we are at the moment, the more the fight's going to come back. And we end up just fighting with each other, which at the end of the day is not going to resolve anything. Said about the current political situation, wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody just stopped doing everything for a couple of weeks, didn't go to work, didn't go shopping, just went out, sat in the garden, nice peaceful protest to say we've had enough. We need balance back, but we get push and push and push until we have to push back. So we've got this eternal ping pong game going on between the powers that be and the general populace, and in between in the general populace as well.
Even in COVID, in Venice, all the water cleared because no one was, everything had stopped. The pollution level went down. Everything was just so much better. Nature was trying to come back to how it should be, instead of us dumping everything in the sea, the lakes, and you know, and you're right there, if everyone just did that for a few weeks, just stopped.
Yeah. And we have also had that wonderful thing in COVID that I have never seen so many people walking around holding hands. It was amazing. It was so noticeable. Because suddenly we were looking at the real value. You know, not the new car or the new job or the holiday to come up. We were actually looking at each other and going, what would my life be if you weren't here? And these are the real questions. These are the real things. We get sidetracked by everything. But what would our life be if that person was no longer here physically? How would that affect me? How would that affect the family? How would they manage if I were no longer here? You know, we really actually touched base with our truer selves. And it was amazing. But sadly, already we're pushed back in 3 years down the line. We're quibbling about trivia.
Yeah.
Everything's getting blown up. No?
I still see people out and about that I made friends with in the lockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
There was like people that suddenly realised that going out was important, so they started walking, and a few of them, they could barely get down the road, and then 2 weeks in and they're striding out and they're walking for the full hour. And I still see a few people now that actually gained more from the lockdown because they actually realised, well, I'm not supposed to go out for much, but I can go out for that hour. And they're 100 times, they're fit and they're strong, and you still see them. You still see them, and like, you know, one woman, she could barely get to the end of the road, and then within a few months, you saw her riding past on her bike, and she's, great.
Yeah.
Winners and losers.
Yeah. Also had a big effect on working life. I used to work on the trains, and the first 7 trains out of Poole every morning, I used to call the bread and butter trains, because they were the trains full and standing by the time they got to Waterloo, with people who go up every day to London, and they're losing like a day a week on travel time, and that's without delays, which were totally out of everybody's control. And suddenly people found they could work at home, and it's like, hang on a minute, why do I need to do that? You know, I used to feel very sorry actually for the commuters, especially when we had delays, because there's nothing you can do. You are stuck on a train that, if you were cattle, it would be against the law to carry cattle in those numbers, because cattle have a certain amount of space they must have in transport. Human beings,
but they go into an abattoir.
Human beings, they may be getting taken to a fresh field. Don't always look at the abattoir. They might have been taken out walkies or something. Human being, you know, it's just anyway. So getting back, we have a comment here from Canada. Hello, darling. For me, spirituality is embracing the connection we all share in this and the spirit world. It's knowing that there is more for me personally, receiving evidence. Try it again. It's knowing there is more, and for me personally, receiving evidence allowing me to deepen that belief day by day. Yeah, I get that, because we were talking about that. You know, when you hug a tree, you feel something. That's your evidence base. You know, when you work with people and open up with people, and you get that response back. Like matey boy today is looking at me, and I'm like, what are you seeing? I really wish you were in the right environment to say, what is it?
Fancies you.
Eh?
Get your coat, you pulled.
Fancy, no, that was terrible. Didn't have a Labrador and a stick with him. I don't know. Anybody else got anything else they've written down they might want to share?
I've written down that, well, I've written down finding, but more importantly, accepting that the divinity within oneself and ultimately within all. And being able to translate higher impulses that you have, i.e. your conscience and what have you, into everyday life. And I've put in brackets that very hard. Basically being still and at peace within and expressing that to others and to all life.
Hmm?
And to me that's being spiritual, that's spirituality as opposed to spiritualism.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very good. And again, we're coming back to that theme that everybody's saying, which is absolutely brilliant, that we are all one. You know, that divinity resides in me is exactly the same in everybody else. It's there, it's given, it's part of us for eternity. And recognising that. And I like the thing about the higher impulses, where you just think, oh, I'm not going to open the door. Oh, yes, I am. Hello. You see somebody struggling, you go, no, I'm in a hurry. Oh, I'm not in that much of a hurry. There you go, love.
Yeah.
Lift you up, yeah. And again, it's all that oneness, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all the different routes as well.
Yeah.
We can explore spirituality. So this is what the second part of the paper is for. Oh, God. So just take a few minutes and just think about the different paths of spirituality. So you've got paganism, you've got, what's we talked about, the energy, metaphysics, you've got all sorts of different crystal therapies. Just have a little think about, you know, what are the different paths, different things that you think will lead you on your spiritual trail. Whether you've explored them or not, it doesn't matter.
You got your picture over there?
Well, they are
say that is healing. So
What did you get from Mother's What did you think of that?
But to me, I think any pathway, whatever you choose to do,
Yeah, Crystal, you've got both.
can't just be a final step. It's an individual.
Just after.
Well, I've so obviously halfway. Do you do tarots? Yeah. So obviously my range is picking up.
too engrossed. It's getting there, slow but sure.
We have to sort of like use our brains in here.
It's work for it, isn't it? Yeah. Most of it
That's what I'm trying to get you to identify.
well, I was thinking that's like for some people who think of naked caddies being outside for them.
Yeah, I find it more difficult to separate everything else. It's just all part of the oneness, really.
Yeah.
Nobody's got
There's a line there because we don't organise religion.
Yeah.
I mean, religion's what you make it, isn't it? You can create your own, really, if you wanted to call it a religion. If you set yourself, you know, your own sort of like little daily rituals or little rules, that you can turn into your own religion.
Sorry for you,
I'm interested in religions, but
we'll give you extra points, Pauline,
that's so
since you're
cause so many issues because of what it's taken them to get.
got issues on your table.
Such a long time ago and they never reviewed them. Unless you keep the pictures.
There's some wonderful cartoons here.
I noticed, yeah.
See, that's it. It's a joke, Laurie. That's the whole point. You've got it in one. It's all a joke. An illusion. We're just in a holographic universe.
Back upstairs and go, did you get the punchline? No. Can I go back?
I heard something yesterday on something I was listening to on Gaia, and they were talking about our physical form is a projection of our spiritual light, our spiritual energy, and this is where it takes it more into holographic energy. So as we come through the different, I'll use the word dimensions or energies or frequencies, we're all these things, and we look at other beings and different things that are starting to come forward now, more frequently to people, and we're just sort of projecting the different light or the energy or the form or the frequency down and down and down until we get to a much denser form of this sort of frequency. That makes sense to me, because then it wipes out time, because this is all happening simultaneously. We're all doing everything. There's not really a past, present and future, because it's all happening simultaneously as consciousness change.
We're not ready, are we, for no past, present and future for everything being.
We've just got to stop linear thinking, really. You know, start thinking, actually, say that it's a spiral, we dip into different experiences. Does that mean we went to different experiences?
She knows the fighting things to do
When we're
with
asleep, for instance.
and one thing she has to face on the
We won't need to.
she jumps on one of our
Nourishment in the density of having to take nourishment from food on the earth.
and she moves to mention
So eventually we'll be more this life.
Doing that now.
They don't need food.
Eating, from what I can gather, some of those people will eat very occasionally, but we're talking
I know.
amount and they're thriving.
Yeah.
Belief is everything, isn't it? Belief is all.
I think that's it, yeah, it is.
Mind over matter.
And depends,
Yeah.
and
The ending is
in
just
frequency in order to be able to be like that.
But we're so habituated to do the meat skeletons.
how we do.
Well, energy is more light, we shift our frequency a lot higher. We're not going to be able to eat the dense food that we made today. I'm not the meat and veg thing, I just mean eat what we currently eat, which grows from the earth. So we took dense foods, we released it, see that out, that could
So they won't be
you won't be maintaining a body, it's simply energy, frequency and vibration, and even then it's on a different density. Where do we get our people? Should we stop now?
There's a few things I've read, and the names escape me, but there
are a few people down the years that have, when it wasn't possible to travel like we could today, technically we could be on the other side of the world within hours. There were people that appeared to people they knew.
The worst thing was clean up after and the washing up.
There's so many shifting there, so many people remotely just living their life. Yeah.
Shift, we're going to do that more and more and more as we let go of this dense physical body and realise that actually we're spirit, the physical, the density of the body really represents this huge spiritual energy, this huge
So where's our
energy
home then?
frequency.
Why are we here in this body?
It's a vehicle to utilise to have the experiences for our spiritual growth, or to remember what we already know.
Burning in the candle has been definitely, that's what I do. I mean, I think
Yes, we learn a lot of stupid things. There was a thing about, because
We talked about the stupid things, which is what Laurie was saying earlier, you know, how much stuff rubbish you taught at school instead of basics of how to cook. And my children weren't even taught how to cook. They were taught how to assemble ready-made whatever from the shop. I taught them how to cook and they taught their friends in my kitchen.
We never had to cook.
Yeah, super hard to make back to school.
If you run out and knock me up to school, if you came round for dinner, I'll be alright because I can make a chair. And I did metal work, so I can make a fork as well. It's rudimentary, but it'll be a fork.
we did, we had kitchens, like lots of kitchen setups in a big classroom. We learned how to cook of sorts, we made
Oh yeah.
Right.
There's all the maybe
about
the
here,
radiant
just not
earth,
walking about.
the earth elevates its energies too.
So we were just looking at different ways of spirituality expresses itself. So, you know, what the belief systems are that we follow or philosophies that we follow. So this table, this lady.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Well, we said tarot cards,
Yeah,
the tea leaves,
yeah.
we put down crystals,
Mm-hmm.
we also put down paganism,
Yeah.
also moonology,
Moonology.
yeah,
Yeah.
because the different cycles, and what is it?
Scientology.
Scientology.
Yeah, that's a philosophy.
Yeah,
Is that one as well? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really good. That's really good. Sue, Brown. Spit the donut out, love.
any pathway that an individual chooses, be it of the holistic, you know, the crystals or tarot cards or something like that, or be it a religious following, I believe they're an aid. They can be an aid or a tool to helping open. It can give openings to the consciousness of the individual.
Yeah.
It can either be a gateway to open your individual consciousness, or it can be a brick wall, because you get so fixated on the object or the thing itself that you stop looking further.
That's a really
Deeper.
good point. Yeah.
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 And I something popped into my head and I couldn't remember his name, but darling Sonia looked it up for me. So to quote Leonard Cohen, because I think this is very apropos, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.
Ooh. Oh wow. You can have another donut. Obviously, the sugar is your gateway to. that actually is really good. I do like that. We do sometimes stop somewhere. I'm not saying that's wrong, but we do sometimes stop somewhere, and then you see. Who here works in Reiki? Who's learnt Reiki?
Don't work in it, but you love it.
Yeah. So who else in here then with your Reiki is actually it's opened up other things with you when you've been working with your Reiki? Yeah. Yeah. And that is one of the commonest things for our healers, our spiritual healers. People go along and learn Reiki, so we learn the full moves, all the symbols and everything. But after a while, we just suddenly notice, hang on, I'm not working in the way that I was trained, but I know I'm being drawn. That there is, there's something else there, because you are putting out that thought, you are putting out that energy that I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to expand. It may not be in the direction we thought we were going to go along, because we do, don't we? We learn things and we go, right, that's it, I've done it. It's sort of like mediumship from the platform. One of the biggest things I always say to mediums is you've got to keep developing your mediumship. Well, no, I'll rephrase that. You haven't got to. But if you don't, you run the risk of just sticking somewhere. My experience of that was I was working and I was halfway through delivering a message and I went, have I given you this message before? Have I worked with you before? And she went, no. And I'm like, this is familiar. This is like I'm reading a script now. I just know what's coming out. I sat and I said to Spirit, what is this? Why am I getting this familiarity? And why are my messages very similar in content? You know, descriptions aside, they're very similar. And the Spirit just turned around and said, well, you stop developing. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I get that. You know, unconsciously, I'd got to the point of saying, well, I'm a medium, I'm getting bookings. I don't sit anymore, I don't sit in circle, I don't develop myself because I'm there. In the spirit world, we're going, yeah, that's fine, you're there, you can work on that level. But it was that inner thing of thinking, this is all familiar, I'm saying things here, and it's always familiar, and I don't know why. It's because I got to a level and I'd stop myself. When that realisation came in, I thought, oh, okay, let's work on this, let's start expanding that. But you can see that same energy in a lot of the different disciplines that we've been talking about. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to come to the table at the back. Pauline, talk to the sensible one on the table.
I agree with what Sue Brown says. Well, what's coming over there?
What have you written down?
Well, I've written there's pathways like healing, crystals, meditation, to follow to spirituality, being kind, and that is part of spirituality.
Yeah.
That sort of area, and Buddhism is very similar.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
what we.
So that's interesting because it's come in twice now. Religions, so be it an Orthodox religion or Buddhism or whatever, Hinduism, but there is that recognition, which is lovely to see, that there is spirituality within the Orthodox religions. Just sometimes you've got to work a bit harder to find it. Sometimes you've got to have that freedom of expression to question. And you've got to find the right teachers within those movements that will allow you that expression. But yeah, well done for bringing that in. Hello.
He wants you to read your list. You see it in his eyes.
Are you ready?
Minus. meditation, sound therapy, energy healing, and veganism, which is very
right.
much a religion to me.
Okay.
Because I'm sadly listening to people talk about the death of trees and compassion for all living things and being kind to everything.
Yeah.
A large number of people still eat meat.
Yeah.
I've been to buffets here where you've had rows and rows of chicken legs. That's hundreds of deaths you've brought into the church,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is. You passed off earlier about the cows in the train.
Yeah.
A little joke off, but I think that's a massive thing for me because over the years I've saved hundreds of animals' lives.
Yeah.
And I go to bed each night knowing that my living has caused no other animal death or pain or suffering. So it's a big thing for me.
Brilliant. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. That is a good point.
And getting recognised now, isn't it? I mean,
So much more these
we
days.
know people that have fought not to be discriminated against because they were vegan,
Yeah.
and it's being elevated to being as important as, say, like, you know, a Muslim has a right to have their religion, their religious needs met during work time
Yeah.
to an
But people see
extent.
it's such a thing that
And so
everyone eats meat.
now, which is
We used to know one that was animal rescue,
Yeah.
and she'd get in a car, she'd drive 30 miles to go and rescue a bird trapped in a chimney, and then get Kentucky on the way home.
Yeah.
And it's like, I couldn't see the point of that, really.
Yeah.
But
But it's interesting hearing it put from that angle. Yeah, it is interesting hearing
because
it put from
I
that
don't say you
angle.
can be spiritualist and pure if you're constantly filling yourself with other people's lives or other beings' lives. That's just my thoughts, really. But
Yeah, no, that's fine. And this is the thing we encourage, that everybody has got a right to have their philosophy. Everybody has got a right to their own disciplines, their own roots.
because some religions like Buddhists and stuff do take that into account.
Yeah. And everybody has the right
Mm.
to explore their own roots.
Exactly.
you
But when
know.
it's billions of animals a year dying in pain and suffering, being consumed by normal people,
Mhm.
that's surely a big dent in the world. I mean, that's the biggest contributor to global warming is breeding animals.
Yeah.
animal husbandry, more than all of transport, even aircraft and everything else. Big
Instead,
damage from
the best thing you can do for the environment is
breeding
actually die.
animals.
As a
As
person,
it is.
the best thing you can actually die
Most
is.
ecologically sound.
But no, that is interesting.
So that sounded
to hear-
ranty, but
Eh?
that sounded a bit ranty. I'm sorry, but
No, it's not ranty. Listen, this is the wonderful thing about spirituality and living a life, is having a passion. You know, if you've got a passion about something, yeah, be free to express it. If people don't agree with it, that's fine.
a lot of
If
people
people
turn their
do
eyes up.
agree with it, that's fine. This is where we tend to fall down.
A lot of people turn their eyes up when you say you're vegan. It's like, oh, another one.
Mm.
And they say, how do you know someone's a vegan? Because they tell you. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't know anyway. But
Yeah.
That's
True.
less so today because
it
there's
is a
more
lot more today,
available
yeah. But
for
we've been
other
vegan best
food
part of
and
30 years. So, but we started. You had to go to Boscombe to get milk.
Yeah.
Don't then go and get a KFC if you wanted one. It's like
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah,
world.
but because of lockdown, we make our milk now, don't we?
Yeah, so
Because when all the COVID stuff happened, they put restrictions in shops, and you could have like you could only have like one milk. Well, most people could go and get a 4 litre milk. Well, we could only go and get a 1 litre soy milk or whatever we wanted. That doesn't help a family, so we learnt to make oat milk, and we haven't gone back. We don't buy the cartons anymore. We just make oat milk. The kids know how to make it. We know how to make it, and it just gets done. And it's
Brilliant.
changes that you can make. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I mean, I've got my bin. My recycle bin has a lot less in it because we used to get through about 12 cartons a week.
so the only bottles
And
we
you
had were
put
rum
those
bottles.
into the environment.
So the fridge has
Now
got
we
3
just
rum bottles
buy
now full of
oats
milk.
and make
That's what you're telling us, yeah. My milk is dark brown. It's lovely. But no, actually, thank you. Yeah, that is really interesting. I like that approach, that through veganism is spirituality, and I get it as well. I totally get it.
It makes you think, and it's like, I mean, one of the things on my Facebook wall, I love seeing what they do, is Humane Wildlife Solutions, and that's a bunch of vegans that now they're in Scotland, but they're working, they do come out Scotland and work nationally as well, and they'll just help people. If you've got animals you don't want, they'll give you a hint as how you can encourage them not to be there, and they'll tell you when they're breeding, so leave them alone for now, give it a couple of weeks, and then you can do this. And this is how you prevent them coming back.
Yeah.
And they will go out and move animals that are really not convenient, but ideally they help people to work with them while they need to be there and then deter them, because we should be smarter than that.
A lot of people class themselves as animal lovers, but it's only
You
certain
go
shows.
around pitting poisons down for rodents, you're going to be killing owls, and it's like, you probably think it's okay to kill a rodent, but did you want the owl to get caught in that target group?
Can I? I'm not going to be popular.
No, we are allowed to debate things.
Well, it's me, I'm afraid. When I left home tonight, my husband was standing out the back with an air rifle to shoot the rat that's as big as a dog, nearly, that eats all the fox food that I put out for the fox, and I try and feed the fox at night. And like tonight, the rat shot out from under the decking. He's huge, and he's taken all the food back down his hole. Occasionally, the fox digs a hole to try and find it. But
the word pest.
we shoot the.
We use the word pest and rodent.
I hate.
But pest and rodent
Why do you?
pest and rodent is an animal which has the audacity to live amongst us. If
They
an animal,
thrive
if an animal
because
thrives
they
amongst
don't
us like
belong in this
pigeons or
country.
rats,
They're actually
become pest
they're an
rodents because
Asian
they're-
animal. They're
they
an
want our-
import, and they thrive on our waste
because they live
because
around
they're
us.
designed to live in countries where food is really, really scarce. So
Yeah,
they
I've
just
seen
do
them in
very,
India,
very
there's
well.
hundreds
Yeah,
of them.
they're not a native species. They came here by our means, our
But
transport.
I'd rather feed the fox and the rats. And
But they were both
if
living
we
creatures
don't
that have-
keep the rats down, because they procreate, they can have hundreds.
And they're under your decking.
Yeah.
Can you make your decking secure? I mean, if they've got young and that, you want to be a bit thoughtful there, and they probably have got babies. at the
No,
moment.
they live under the
But
decking
they
and
can
they,
be deterred.
they
Sorry,
dig
just
out
voice
into
out.
the lawn.
Yeah.
Be
I'm
on
not-
Facebook.
And there's
I'm not being rude.
Yeah. Have a
Um,
look at humour. I'll jot it down for you.
Brilliant.
They will help you
Brilliant.
how
I
to deter
just
them.
think shooting them is humane if it's quick. It's better than poisoning, isn't it?
How is shooting something humane then, to be honest?
But it's not, is it?
You're killing an animal, it's
No.
not humane.
No.
I know it's the choice of which animal it is.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going to stop that
Yeah, cool.
because we've got other people.
Sorry.
And Sue,
I just want to say, without unpacking that further, I've also got rodents in the garden. I'm trying sound vibration things in the earth with garlic and onions to get rid of them at the moment, but you know,
Doesn't
we'll
work.
see. Well, anyway, to me, I've written here non-religion as well. Oh yes, non-religion. This also is a way of connecting, and you've just actually spoken about that in great depth. Where we don't have to follow a religious path, we don't have to follow a path of any sort. We just have to live our lives the way we actually choose to live our lives. The thing is, so many people, and so many of us done this. We think, oh, we've got to have a spiritual book or a religious book or do some sort of
A tag.
crystal practice or whatever it is, and it leads from one thing to another thing, and that may be part of the process that we go through to broaden our understanding, open our minds even. But eventually, one way or another, we end up going round seeking, and yet there's still a missingness. It's only when we start to go deeply within, which some of the spiritualities, whatever it is that we actually choose to do, it may encourage us to do that we start to find that peace inside, that love inside, that divinity inside. We start to realise who we actually are. We're not this human form with all the labels that have been attached to it over the years. We're something so much deeper and bigger and light within ourselves, and that's within and without. And once we start to learn and realise that, although we may start with grasp it more intellectually, gradually it starts to become an inner knowing, that's a knowing that has no language, and we can stop the seeking, because we just need to be in the silence within, and all the answers are within the silence. But the fact we go round chasing after so many different things, maybe that's just part of the process before we start thinking, actually, the answer isn't out there anywhere. It's in me. It's here all the time. And, you know, but maybe that's we've had to explore to realise it's in here, it's not out there. The other thing that actually dawned on me was, do you know what? There are so many false idols in the world today. How many people across the world worship celebrities and they want to imitate them, follow them, buy the magazines and all the rest? And I'm not criticising that, but in a way that they have created false idols. And the same with some sporting heroes and this type of thing. So where there's this focus on a person within the world, maybe that's their inspiration, I don't know, but it's also feeding an energy into a false idol. And maybe that needs to be something for people to think about too.
I think in both of the things you were saying there, energetically, if you look at them, we go out seeking the goal, we go out seeking the end point of everything, and we look for the shortcuts. So I agree with you, when you see some of these photos of pretty young women who have done bizarre things and photoshopped themselves into no belly button and no nose, or you know, and eyebrows that can sweep the road with one blink. You know, and where has that image come from? You know, and it's not. People look at, you know, they talk about the celebrity. Oh, I want to be dressed like them. A bit like mediumship. Oh, I want to be a medium. Really? You want to give up every Sunday of the year? You want people coming up and asking you stupid bloody things at times? You know, really, you know, because they see the end point. But every end point is the journey. It is that journey, and that is exactly where we learn. So in the first part you were talking about, yeah, we do chase after things, we do chase after this, we chase after that, because we're on that journey, we're learning. And the learning is, at the end of the day, well, actually, everything comes back down to self. Everything comes back to self. Does it sit well with us? Is it part of our energy? How do we accommodate that energy? Are we happy? You know, we look in the mirror, are you happy with what we look at? Stop laughing. I am, because I've got a very steamy window. No. But at the end of the day, are we happy with that person? You know, we can always have the tweaks. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You can always have the little tweaks and everything, but you know, it's just being happy with that person because of that journey you've been on. Last but not least.
Oh, the naughty table.
The naughty table.
Big well behaved tonight. Okay, so different pathways sort of leading up to sort of spirituality. We've got things like holistic therapies, aromatherapy, healing crystals. We've got things like shamanism, so you know, thinking about the elements of the earth and water and how we work with those energies to take us down another pathway. We looked at study, workshops, reading, educating oneself to develop the knowledge and understanding. But with all these things that I've mentioned there, they're all like seeds, aren't they, that are sown within us. And it's for us to find our own pathway forwards and to explore and develop. And like you said, we're all unique, we're all individuals, so some people will go forwards and think, oh, I'm really into this, or this isn't for me, and then that's fine. But you just learn and grow, and then there'll be something else. So, and the more you're open, the more spirit will come in and work with you and encourage you to look at other avenues as well.
Yeah.
And it's just expanding that mind and your own awareness, I think. We've also talked about meditation, us, you know, building that connection to spirit ourselves. So going within ourselves and connecting to spirit through meditation, and also again in another way through our own prayer.
Yeah.
And whichever way we do it, like you say, you know, you feel you could, you know, go through a walk in a park, you go to the woods, or it might be something on your pillow in your bedroom. It could be wherever you feel comfortable in that connection. Also, we talked about music. We find music can be really uplifting.
Oh, yeah.
It can be really strong and powerful. And that, again, by listening to music, can really help you connect, I think, to spirit.
Yeah.
And sometimes even for our soul, it's good. It's like a nourishment, isn't it?
I'm glad you said that, because it is wonderful to be able to connect to spirit, but you know what, most importantly is to connect to ourselves.
Yeah, it's good.
That is really the nadir, that is really the high point of all these practices.
That was it, really. I think that's what we...
Yay!
Daddy's gone mad.
Eh?
Daddy's gone mad, I'm just telling you.
So, yeah, it's just interesting to be able to sit and talk about these things and hear different opinions. And again, if they sit with you, great. If they don't sit with you, great. You know, we are allowed to be different, and we should celebrate being different. There's no one way, because one way then becomes dictatorial, and that's when issues start to arise. You know, everybody has an opinion. If you agree with it, again, agree with it, great. If you don't agree with it, great. This is life. This is why we're here. We're here to explore, to learn, to grow and understand. So our next Wednesday night, which is obviously next week, funnily enough, because there's 5 Wednesdays this month, we'll be going to have a demonstration of mediumship, an evening of mediumship, and that's with a lovely lady who has been down and served us. Oh, for goodness sake. Yeah. Oh, shut up.
Is it Jackie somebody?
No.
Jacqueline, someone in there.
Jacqueline, yeah, we're getting there. Jacqueline Hill, sorry darling.
Unforgettable.
Jacqueline Hill, she's a lovely lady coming down from Essex to be with us. She took a Sunday service about a year ago. Poor so-and-so, the hotel had got messed up and she ended up sleeping the night in the car. I was furious. I said, why didn't you come and knock on the door? And she said, well, it was late. And I went, I don't care. But anyway, she's back with us next Wednesday. So, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Have you got something from this tonight?
Yeah.
It is, you know, it's really good this age now where we can sit around and talk about things. And as I say, you know, you go out and just think, yeah, I didn't really go along with that, or yeah, I suppose so. That's great. This is how we grow and how we develop and how we grow. So thank you. Thank you, everybody.
No, hardware shop.
It's the hardware shop. It's called Ollie's shop.
Very old shop. Halfway down.
It's called Boots. You can go in there.